Hello, there's Johnny, and I'm also known as the Roots Cuisine channel, where I go and do different types of dishes, and I'll show you the tricks and tips of how to do a meal, and I'll also go through and show you things that you can substitute during the meal while I'm showing you the way how to do something, or the way that I do it. I'm not a professional, but I have been cooking since I was 7 years old, and so these are the things that I've learned and or tricks that I've learned while cooking in the years of either in restaurants or in my own kitchen. I love doing different types of recipes. So today I'm going to show you how I make a chicken and sausage gumbo, and it's actually a filet gumbo. And then I'm going to do a side potato salad. And I had a request for someone who viewed one of my channels and asked me to do a potato salad. So here is the meal today that's going to be with the potato salad and of course a side of rice. If this is your first time coming to the channel, I want to thank you for showing. And if you would not mind, please do me a favor and subscribe to below the video and hit the bell. There's 3 bells. The top one is the one you get all notifications. And if you're to do that, you will not miss any videos that I put out. My goal is to do at least 1 video a week. And if you are returning to watch another video that you've been subscribed to before, I want to thank you again for returning. And please do me a favor and also leave comments below. I do reply to all comments, whether they're good or bad. And if so, if they are bad, just let me know why and what you think of the video when you're going through this video. And so now, without further ado, here we go. Now, for this first step of doing the gumbo, I've already prepared my seasonings, which I have. You can do bell pepper, celery, and onions, which is the trinity of most Cajun dishes. You have celery, bell pepper, and onions. The onion is 1 large onion, a medium-sized bell pepper, and about 4 stalks of celery. Cut in all the same sizes. And what you want to do is when you do dice them and cut them up, try to make sure they're all equally portioned out. And I'm going to have chicken that I already diced. It's about 2 cups of chicken. I use chicken breast. You can also dice them and chop them up. And then I'll show you the size of the sausage because I have andouille sausage and regular smoked sausage. And I also cut those in the same unified sizes to do your gumbo. The first thing we're going to do is an equal portion of flour and oil. You can use any type of oil that you would like. I like using olive oil. And basically what you're going to do is just coat the bottom of the pot. And then what we're going to do is we're going to make sure that the bottom of the pot is not only coated, but we're going to get the pot as hot as possible because you want to get that oil out hot first. And then once this comes to a heat, we'll go ahead and add the flour. While the grease is getting hot in the pot, I want to go ahead and finish preparing the rest of my items. And what you want to do is, this is half of it because I already prepared half of it already. And I just want to give you a quick tip on how I cut my sausage up. Now you can do it in any size you want, but when I do one item, I do everything in the same size. So what I'm going to do is take the sausage and cut it in half. Then I'll take that half and then I'll cut it again in half. Because I already did the andouille sausage, which is already in little bite sizes. And this is what you're going to do when you cut your sausage or your chicken. You want to make sure they're all in uniform size. And then I'm going to take the rest of this other half and I'm going to cut it in half. And then I'm just going to cut them in cubes. And you're basically going to keep everything in the same uniform. I even have the chicken in the same size. So you want to keep it all the same when you're cutting your chicken, your beef, or whatever you... Now this type of gumbo, you can do anything as far as... You can even do turkey necks, any type of meat you want to use. A gumbo is just about anything. It's like a pot that you can just mix anything in. And so what I did was I have 1 link of andouille sausage and a link of smoked sausage, and they all cut and ready to go. I feel that the heat is rising and bringing the oil to a heat, and you can also see how it starts to have this ripple effect in the oil. And basically what I'm going to do is, I don't really measure because I do this by eye, but I'm going to take and start putting the flour in, and you can see it's starting to bubble, so you know it's hot enough. And just enough to coat the bottom, because you want to mix all this together, and it'll be like a paste. When doing this is the first start of what's called the roux. This is the same thing I spoke about in my last video when I did a beef stew. Basically, it's the same thing. You're going to take and heat up the oil and the flour together and keep it all mixed. You don't want it to stick to the bottom. You don't want it to burn, but you're going to keep cooking it until it gets to like a golden brown, almost like a candy bar, like a light color of chocolate. And you will keep doing this with the whisk because it will keep it from clogging, lumps. And this helps keep it separated. And of course, when we add the liquid to this, it will start to thicken, but on a gumbo, you want it more like a soup. You want it loose. You don't want it thick like a stew. But again, this is the beginning stages of any type of sauce, whether it's white, red, A fricassee is what someone commented in one of my videos. My cousin made a comment that it was like a fricassee, which is a white gravy. It's a French gravy, which is called fricassee. You can call it a gumbo, stew. But anyway, this is the first stages of any type of gumbo or stew that you can cook. And also, if you're doing like a red sauce, a sauce piquant, you can also use this as the beginning stages when you're cooking that type of dish. I think I have enough flour in here. Again, it's going to get thickened a little bit more as you cook it. And you want to keep stirring it so it doesn't turn completely burnt. But you want to get it cooked to where it's nice and brown. Now that I'm at the step here, you're going to see that the roux are really dark brown. But the thing about it is, the darker it's going to be, you got to remember when you're adding liquid to it. I'm trying to get it to where you can see it in the light. There we go. It's like a dark brown. Now, it doesn't matter because once you keep adding liquid to it, it will turn a lighter color. But that's about how dark you want your roux. And at this time, because I want to keep it nice and hot, I am going to add my seasonings, which is my onions, celery, and bell peppers, and red peppers. I'm going to add all this into here and get that nice and coated with the roux. Get all my seasonings. And I forgot I wanted to add some parsley. I'll add that last. And my wooden spoon. And we're going to stir this all up together. Now that the onions, bell peppers, and celery, the trinity, is all well mixed with the roux. Now I'm going to start adding my liquid. This is 4 cups of stock. You can use regular water or you can use any type of stock that you like. But this is a combination of chicken and beef stock. I'm going to add this to the pot. I'm going to keep using the whisk to whisk all this together because that's what I'm going to start with. And because this pot is hot, I want to make sure I use a glove because I don't want a mitten. And basically you're just going to keep stirring in the roux to dissolve it into the liquid. And we'll bring this back to a rolling boil. I got it on, add this to high now that I got the liquid in it. I lowered the heat a little bit because I didn't want it to burn the bottom of the pot. And I'm sorry for the noise, but I'm just basically getting the roux mixed with the water, the liquid. Whatever liquid you may use, but I'm using stock. Now at this point, I'm going to keep stirring this until all the liquid is dissolved with the roux, and we'll come back to do the next step. Now that this is starting to dissolve and come back to a rolling boil, I'm needing to add a little bit more liquid to this. I'm going to add another 4 cups of liquid. In this case, I'm just going to add water. And so I want this to come back to a complete rolling boil. I want about halfway of the pot. And that's where I'm at, halfway of the pot. At this stage, it's starting to come to a boil. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to add 2 teaspoons of what's called filet. It's also it's a Cajun way of using in gumbo, and it's a thickening agency, but it's also for great flavor. This is sassafras leaves that are dried and ground in like a powder form. So I'm going to use 2 teaspoons in this. Now this is a filet gumbo. And I'm only going to do 2, and it also helps thicken it a little bit. So you don't really need a lot because it does go a long way. But you can also use this like in a filet gumbo with shrimp and okra. I've even had turkey gumbo. I've had turkey neck gumbo. You can pretty much put any type of meat you want in it. But this little container, I keep it in my freezer to keep it fresh, and it lasts a lot longer. And you can basically find this in any of your produce sections of the seasoning section. But the best thing is to get it fresh, and that's what this is. I'm going to put it right back in the freezer. All right, now that the filet is in and it's nice rolling boil, I'm going to start adding my seasonings. The first thing I have here is 3/4 of a cup, and you can use fresh or you can buy dry. But this is fresh parsley diced up very small. I'm going to add this into the pot. This is where you start layering your flavors. And I keep whisking everything in as I go every time I add a flavor because I want to get it all nice and mixed in. Now that it's coming to a complete boil, I will lower this to a medium heat because I don't want it to boil over. And medium should be just fine at this point. As you can see, you can start to smell the flavors and the seasoning. Now I'm going to layer my other seasonings. And I use, of course, this is Tony's Fasheries with no salt, but they also have a regular one, and I'll show you that in this. Of course, they have the original one that's original New Orleans style Tony Chachere's, and this is one of the favorite seasonings that I use. I don't use this one as much because as long as I can find the one with no salt, it's in a purple band, that's the one I like to use. But you can use either one you like. And I already I'm going to start putting this into the pot. Now basically, I don't measure, but I just do enough to coat the top. And then you can always add more seasonings as you go, and it's all in your preference on how strong of a seasoning you like in your seasonings that you use. Then I have roasted garlic. Then I'm going to add, and same thing, I don't measure because I notice by eyeing it. I usually just coat a little bit on the top, depending on what seasonings you like more of. And I'll keep stirring this in as I go. I don't like to put all the seasonings in, but I like to layer it. So that's why I stir it as I go. I want it all mixed in. Then I'm going to use paprika. It's smoked paprika. And again, I don't measure. I just eye it. And of course, it's not coming out all the way, so I'll just use the other side. And just be careful because you don't want too much. You can always add, but you can never take out. So don't put too much at one time. Now, let me go ahead and wash my hands. Now, I'm going to stir this up. And then I'm going to add 2 to 3, in this case I'm going to do 3, bay leaves. And again, just another layer of flavor. And I'll buy these in the seasoning section. Bay leaves just is just another layer of flavor. Now, keeping this on a medium to heat so it can come to a complete boil. And depending on the size of the bay leaves you use, sometimes you can use a large one, and you can only need 2 of them. But because these are kind of small, and this is what I found in our local grocery store here. In Louisiana, you can find them anywhere in the nice big pieces, but in this case, these are some smaller ones. So I'm going to do 3. And then I'll just stir all this in, let it come to another complete boil, and then I'll start adding the meat. And you don't want this to stick to the bottom, so you want to use a whisk at the beginning, because that way it'll keep it nice and stirred together without having anything stick to the bottom of the pot. And then always use a wooden spoon throughout the rest. It's just something I've always done. My grandmother, my mother, and everyone I've known in the family basically uses a wooden spoon when it comes to roux, and I only use one particular spoon. And I know this one's the one because it has the dark roux ring around it. It turns out like a dark brown, so that's how I know which spoon to use out of all my wooden spoons. All right, in this case, I'm just going to let it come to a complete rolling boil, and then we'll go to the next step. And then I'll start cleaning out the potatoes for our potato salad. All right, now this is coming to a complete roll boil again. This is where I'm going to add the last of the items to need to cook the rest of this gumbo. Remember, it's going to be a chicken and sausage andouille gumbo. Filet gumbo, actually. And again, you can always take out any particular item that you don't like or you don't use or you don't care for the flavor. But when you're cooking this, it just gives it a nice, good flavor. And the last thing I'm going to add, because I did not do this yet, is 2 tablespoons of minced garlic. I'll try to get some of the liquid. I buy this already made in the jar. And 2 tablespoons is plenty enough. And again, if you like some more, add more if you like it a little stronger. Or a little less if you don't like that much garlic in your seasoning, in your food. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to slowly add diced up chicken. This is chicken breast. You can use, like I said, any of the meats that you like, but this is a particular one is going to be chicken and sausage. And then I also am going to be adding andouille sausage. Again, everything is cut in the same size. Just be careful that you don't splash this on you. And basically, I'm going to stir this in and let it come to another boil, and then we'll lower the heat down to a medium to low heat, because then I'll just want it to basically finish cooking. And that is the steps for the chicken and sausage filet gumbo. Okay, now this step, what I'm doing is I'm going to go ahead and start doing my ingredients for the potato salad. And I have a pot of water, and I'm always salting my water when I'm boiling eggs. And of course, I also boil more than what I need because I like having boiled eggs for breakfast. So just enough to get into the water, because what happens is this helps you when going to peel the eggs. It does help them, makes it easier to peel, and I'm gonna peel them right after they come out of. I time them when I bring this to a rolling boil. I time my timer for 12 minutes, no more than 15. 2, 4, 6. I would do 8 eggs. That's 4 for the potato salad and 4. Well, let me do 2 more there. That's no big deal. I always can eat them. All right, because the water's a little high, I'm gonna take some out. And I want to at least have the eggs covered with the water, with the salt. And this way here, when I bring this to a boil, I'll go ahead and time it for 12 to 15 minutes. And then I'll take them out and show you the next step. All right, at this step, I've already have my potatoes already cut, and basically you want to take the skin off of it, and then I leave it in water as I'm cutting it, because that way it will not turn brown while you cutting them up. And then what I'm going to do is this. I already have some cut already in the pot, but I'm going to show you. This is a large I'm only doing 3 potatoes. Depending on the size of your family that you cook it for, you can either add more. But typically for 2 people, I usually do just 3 potatoes. It depends on if we have family or someone coming over. And I cut them in half. And I'll take the flat side down to the cutting board so it doesn't move on me. And then I'll take that half and cut that in half again on both halves. And you want to kind of keep them in a nice square chunk. Now that I got these cut in half and then cut in half each half, I'm going to cube them. And basically you want to keep them about uniform. Whatever size you cut, when you're done, you're going to have nice sized bite pieces, because you don't want to keep it too small so you can make a nice good potato salad. And then I'll finish cutting the second one, and then we'll go ahead and start getting it with a little bit of salt in your water. And this is one of the times I do use a little salt in the water while I'm boiling it, because then I'll rinse them all out and empty out the water. But I'm leaving it in water because I don't want them to turn brown. I got the eggs cooking, and I'm going to put these now on the stove to get these ready to boil. I'll rinse that water out, and I'll add more water to set it. And we got snow now again. It's been snowing off and on all day. But it's a beautiful scene from this window. And I just want to cover it until I get it to the stove. And we'll go from there and show you the next step. All right, I'm going to bring you out here to show you what I'm looking at in the window here. As you see, it is snowing outside. That's my view from my window in the kitchen here. We'll bring it to the door. And here we are, March the 23rd, supposed to be spring, and we have snow. And that's my backyard, right here at my sliding door. As you can see, the snow is starting to build up, and it's supposed to be going on until about 2 o'clock in the morning today and tonight. All right, now that I got the potatoes boiling, the eggs are boiling, and as soon as that's done, I'll show you the next steps with a medium to large size bowl, depending on what size you're going to be making for your potato salad, and that'll be my next step to show you. All right, what I want to show you now is, as you see how the water is coming to a rolling boil in the eggs, at this point you want to do your timer. If you like a soft-boiled egg, then you do it for 12 minutes, no more. If it is for you want a hard ball, which that's what I'm going for, I'm going to time this for 15 minutes. Okay, now that the eggs had just completely come to a boil and done, I'm going to run cold water. And this is the trick that I like to use. First, I'm going to dump all the water out of the eggs. I'm going to rinse them a little bit in cold water. And this is basically just stopping the cooking process of the egg. I'm going to drain that water out. And it will still be a little hot, which is fine. Because now what I'm going to do is, this is the way I do it to where it peels easier. I want to flick them in the pot a couple of times, which will be loosening the shells around the eggs. And then I'm going to run this in cold water, and then I'm going to start peeling. And I just want to cover the eggs in cold water. At this point, I'm going to get that little shell skin that's on the egg off. And it comes off a lot easier. It is still a little hot, so let me run some more cold water in it. I find that it does take, when you have cold water running on them, it does take less time to peel. And you want to get that little shell, that little liquid, there's a thin shell skin on it, you just want to make sure you take that off. And basically I'm going to go ahead and peel all these, and we'll show you the next step. All right, now that I have all the eggs peeled, I do have 4 set aside for the potato salad, and the rest I'm going to let sit at room temperature for a little bit so I can get it cooled down. All right, for the next step, I want to show you that when you're doing your potatoes, if you do them at the same time the eggs are, you should be almost done. And what you want to do is take a potato and take a fork and just put it in the potato, and if you twist it a little bit and it breaks apart easy, that's where you want. You don't want to go too long, and you don't want to undercook them, but that's about where you want it, to where you can put a fork in it, twist it, and it breaks apart. Now we'll go ahead and strain this and go from there before I pick it up in the refrigerator. And one tip I want to let you know about the egg shells, Eggshells can be used also if you crumble them up. You can use them in your flower bed, or if you do compost, you can put them in your compost. But breaking the eggs up, you can actually put them in your flower bed, and it does help the flowers in the soil. So that's another idea you can keep for the eggshells. Now that I have these done, I'm waiting for the potatoes to be done, and I'll show you the next step. All right, this next step, what you want to do is take the potatoes, and you want to drain the water out of it. And I'm going to take all the water out of this and keep the potatoes. I want to put it in the pot for a few minutes, because I'm going to show you the next step. All the water's out of here. And I'm going to leave this right here in the sink, and we'll go and show you the next step. All right, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and cut these eggs up. And basically you want to cut them in little cube bite sizes. I'm going to cut them in half again. And you're basically going to just keep cutting them until you want it the size you want. I'll kind of keep them in a little bit bite sizes, because the yellow will automatically, the yolk will break apart. But just keep the eggs in a bite size. And we'll do this with all the eggs. All right, now that I have all the eggs chopped in the bite sizes that I want in the bowl, I went on ahead and put them in the bowl. Now, remembering that I drained that potatoes already, I'm just going to put them in the same bowl. Get them all, everything out of the pot. And what I'm going to do at this point is I'm going to take this knife. I'm just going to kind of cut it up. I don't want them too small, but I don't want them too big as well. It's up to you and how you like your potatoes. But when I do a potato salad, I like to have that bite in a potato when I do potato salad. And this is plenty enough for us, so that's why I only did 3 potatoes. But the more you need, the more potatoes you can use and more eggs. But this is what I'm basing on 3 large rusted potatoes. You can use any potato you like. But I use, for this particular one, I use the large ones, the rusted potatoes. And I'm basically just going to cut this with my knife, because it's going to break apart a little bit more as I stir into this. But I want to leave them in chunks, so I'm not going to over cut them. I just want to make sure this is all nice and well mixed. Now at this point, this is where I'm going to start adding all the wet ingredients and the seasoning as well. Now I'm done with all this. Put that on the side. You can use any one you want, but I like using dill relish. You can use as much, as little as you like. But I want to make sure that I have enough to go through all the potatoes. And this is about 2 tablespoons here, so I'll use about 3 or 4, depending on how big your salad is when you're doing your potato salad. So that was about 2 there, and I'll have another one ready here. And I keep this in the fridge because I like it cold. Because I want to get this a little ahead of time, because I want to put this in the fridge because I like it cold. And there's going to be 4 tablespoons of relish. And then I'm going to use, you can use any seasoning you like. I like to use Tony's in almost everything I do, but just enough to give it a little flavor. And I'm doing only the coating at the top. Then I'm going to use a little bit of smoked paprika. And you can also use garlic powder, garlic salt, whatever you want, or roasted garlic. But this is just enough to give it a little flavor. And I'm just coating the top at this point. Then I use regular classic yellow mustard. And then you can use as little as much as you want, but I just do a little bit at a time because I don't want to overdo it, because then you can add to it, but you can't take it out once you have too much of one particular thing. Now this is a little bit of Dijon Cajun mustard. You can use Dijon mustard, Creole mustard, smoked ground mustard, whatever you like. Then I'm going to use, you can use mayo. In Louisiana, we use what's called blue plate mayo. And it's not easy to find up here, so I have to use this other brand. So, and I'm going to put about 3 tablespoons to start with. Heaping tablespoons. Because you can always add more, but you don't put it too much at one time because you don't want it to be running. All right, we'll start with that, and I'll get a spoon and stir this up. And basically, you just want to mix it all together. And as you do this, you're going to see that you're going to be doing a little bit more of the potatoes being a little mushy. That's fine, because you're going to, I like it a little bit chunky. But if you don't like a chunky potato salad, you can get them a little bit smaller. It's all in the way you want to cut it. But you want to mix all the ingredients together. Make sure you get all the eggs at the bottom. And at this point, you're going to keep adding either mayo, whatever choice you use, to get the thickness or the creaminess that you want in your potato salad. I don't like it too creamy because then it gets too much mayonnaise, and I don't want a big mayonnaise taste because I want to taste potatoes. I want to taste the eggs. So basically, it's how thick you would like it or how runny you like it. But I don't like a runny potato salad. And some people do put onions, raw onions or raw diced up celery. I don't care for that, but you will find that in some places that they do add this. Celery and onions and whatever else they might want to add to it, but I don't. This is basically a typical potato salad, and that's all I use. And basically, you want to keep stirring this in until it's all nice and mixed, and that you get all the eggs from the bottom and everything's nice and mixed. And at this point, I may have to add a little bit more mayonnaise because it's getting a little thick, and I want to add a little bit more. All right, now I had to. I'm OCD and anal when it comes to dishes. So I have to hurry get those in the dishwasher and get them clean. But anyway, I did add a little bit more mayo. And I'm going to mix all this up really well. You're going to have a yellow tint to your potato salad because of not only the yolks of the egg, but the mayo, the mustard that you use. And it's right at the part where you're going to see it's more like I wouldn't say like a paste, but more of smooth, but with chunks in it as well, which is fine because that's how I like it. And I want to go ahead and give it a taste and see if I need to add any more other items. I'm going to give it a small taste and see what I got. Sauce bon. Perfect. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and finish this off. And then the last step I'm going to do is I'm going to smooth everything over. It's like a little presentation kind of thing you want to do. And once I have this all nice and smooth over, I'll leave a little bit on the spoon for me to have after, maybe. I'm going to clean all this off. And I'm going to show you the very last step, and I'm going to put it in the refrigerator so it can get cold. We've got plenty of time. I did start this ahead of time before Robert gets home from work. And I'm just going to smooth all this over. And of course, I'm going to lick it. Sauce bon. Wash my hands. Now, the last step I'm going to do this is I'm going to take the paprika, the smoked paprika, and I'm going to give it a lightly dust of the top of the potato salad for presentation only, really. But it adds a little flavor as you go into serving it. And basically, I'm just going to coat it with a light coloring coat to the top. And then I'm going to cover this and put it in the fridge. And that is the potato salad. Now, I'm going to bring you over to the pot because I'm going to show you something with the gumbo. All right. At this point, it's still boiling, and I'm going to lower this to a low heat now. And I'm going to give this a good stir. And if you happen to have a light coat on top of oil from when you did the roux, the only thing you need to do at this point is if you don't want that in your gumbo, which it's fine. You can also take a piece of paper towel, a couple of pieces actually, lay it on top. It'll absorb the oil first before any liquid. So if you want to get rid of that, just use some paper towel, layer it on top, it'll soak it right out. Now at this point, now that it's done, I'm going to leave this on a low heat. But I'm going to give it a taste and see if I need to add anything else at this point. And this is where you want to add, because at this time it's going to be just simmering now. You definitely want to taste it to make sure you might need any other seasonings in it. I'm going to try to get a piece of chicken. And at this point, I'm going to taste it and see if I need anything. Make sure you blow on it, because it will be hot. Sauce bon. That is where I want it. Perfect seasoning. Now, if you were to do a seafood gumbo, you wouldn't put the meat in it at that time because you want to make sure this has been cooking for about an hour and a half. When you're doing seafood, especially with crabs or shrimp, you leave it on a low heat and you want to put the seafood in within 20 minutes to 30 minutes because you don't want the crab meat to break apart too fast. And you can usually when you buy the crab meat, it's already cooked for you. And make sure you check for any bones or anything like that. From the shells from the crab. But if you're using crab and shrimp, put those last because it does not take long to cook And you don't want to overcook the shrimp or the crab meat because the crab meat will break apart and you'll have more strings than anything on the crab meat. You want to keep them nice and lump. And the best thing to use that for would be your crab claws, the crab meat itself from the claws. And the shrimp, because of the fact that if you overcook the shrimp, it will be rubbery, and you don't want that. You want to keep the shrimp in the nice form that is it, and the longer you cook it, the more it's going to shrink, and you won't have the actual shrimp like you want it. So with the seafood part, at this point, depending on how soon you're going to be cooking and serving your meal, don't put it in no more than 30 minutes before you're actually ready to start serving dinner. And that's my tip for if you're doing seafood. And I usually use a shrimp and okra when I'm doing a seafood gumbo. You can do all kind of seafood. And like I said, you can do any kind of meat you want in it. But today I'm just doing chicken and sausage with filet. So bon appetit. Thank you for coming. And also what you would want to do is I have rice already cooked. You can cook the rice however you want. And usually you serve this, and I'm going to have a picture of it at the end. You serve this over a bed of rice. And you can either serve the potato salad, which some restaurants that you go to in the South, in Louisiana, they'll serve it on the side. But I like my potato salad and my rice with the gumbo all in one bowl. But everybody has different ways of eating it, and that's how I like it. So this is at the end now, though it's going to be simmering the rest of the way. And then I'll show you the final finished product on a plate so you can see what it is. Thank you for coming. Don't forget to subscribe and hit that bell for any new videos that when they come out. And I want to thank you for coming and leave me those comments. God bless you and have a blessed day.